Hello everybody, this is Gregory with Permanent Weight Loss Made Easy, where there should be no hesitancy in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today we're going to talk about the slippery slope to regain your weight and why this is so common. Now before we begin, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so these episodes come fresh to you. And also, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. As many of you guys know, I've lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years. And tea doesn't hurt. All right, so what do we know about the stats? The stats are that people who lose a lot of weight, 50 pounds or more, regain it. And probably the stats would bear out if you've lost 30 pounds, you regain it. So yo-yo dieting is quite common. Why is this? Well, I think on one level, it's kind of like a hole in a rowboat. So if the hole is big enough, water's coming in, and for a little while, even if you have a pail, you might be able to scoop it out, but eventually you're going to get tired. And with weight loss, unless you do the deep work to figure out why you have an emotional attachment to food and alcohol, you do the deep work, and I talk about here all the time how normally it's adverse childhood experiences that cause you to not be able to eat like a dog does or a 3-year-old. Unless you do the deep work, most of us have the ability to suck it up, right? Like women, oh, it's summer season, or oh, it's a high school reunion coming up in 6 months, and crash diet, the crash diet. So most of us have the wherewithal to do that, to have that level of forbearance, to have that level of self-restraint for a certain time, for a certain purpose, for a certain window. So you lose the weight, and then what? The other connection is, sometimes you overeat or overdrink. When you're depressed, you're going through a divorce, you're going through a separation, you're a lot of these traumatic events, and you're depressed. You're like, I don't care, I know this is bad, but it gives me momentary pleasure. But in the long run, it's not good for you. Same thing with tons of drugs and alcohol and excessive gaming and shopping and all these things. And so after that clears up, you might go back and like, okay, I'm going to fix these bad habits, and you do, and you lose the weight. But why do people regain it? Because they don't do the deep work. And so it's like a slow day in, day out return to your bad habits. We talked about in the first episode we ever did here was for permanent weight loss, you need to change your paradigm, because whatever your paradigm was before clearly didn't work, because 80 to 90% of people who lose a lot of weight regain it. So it doesn't work. So whatever you've done, whether it be you losing the weight, or maybe you just never lost the weight and you keep gaining weight, you're getting fatter and fatter and fatter, the paradigm you've been using hasn't been working. Whether it be with sleep, exercise, diet. So you got to radically change your paradigm. And so many people don't do this. They can suck it up, I got the reunion coming up. Then they achieve that goal, and then day in, day out, they slide back. So what does that look like? Well, instead of maybe working out every day or every other day, you're like, yeah, I'll slide. Or instead of eating as well, yeah, I won't eat as well. Because the motivation's not there. And when you fundamentally, the motivation being the high school reunion or whatever, the wedding, and when the motivation's not there, unless it is wired into you, again, by changing your paradigm, unless it's wired into you, you're going to start sliding. And this is what happens. People start going back to their old habits, especially if they have some adverse childhood experience that caused them to have an attachment to food and alcohol, where they use it to numb the pain, to soothe them, to give them nurturance, whatever it is. And so it's a slow slouching back to Gomorrah, so to speak. And boom, you blink, next thing you know, you've gained 10 pounds, 15 pounds. And then when you notice the weight's gaining, some people will nip it in the bud, so to speak, and then crash diet again. And so others are like, I don't care. And we don't want to get to that point. You don't want to get to that point. So it's those day in, day out habits. You know what they say about like making your bed, for example, brushing your teeth. These are important little things, because if you're able to succeed in doing the little things, then you're more likely to be able to succeed in the big things. You can't jump to the big things if you can't do the little things. So if you've lost weight, and I'm sure you're worried about regaining it, if you've lost weight, take a look in the mirror and look. Have my habits changed? Am I not as rigorous with my diet, my exercise, my sleep, and my stress, and those stress levels and all these things? And if you're intellectually honest with yourself and you haven't, you need to get back on it, because the next thing you know, you've blinked and you've gained 20 pounds, 30 pounds. and then it's yo-yo dieting, yo-yo dieting. We don't. We want to have permanent weight loss. That's why this episode exists. And this channel exists, Permanent Weight Loss Made Easy, because I want to help you because I've been able to do it, and I want to give you some of those tips. So part of that is just being cognizant. In other words, being always self-aware, being introspective, knowing what makes you tick. And the number one thing is admitting that you have a bad relationship with food. And a lot of guys in particular don't want to do that deep work. They don't want to look in the mirror and look at the trauma that probably caused it. But you need to if you want to have permanent weight loss. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. What's your story? Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.